Welcome to Gray Areas for January 7th, 2025, episode 654. I'm glad I still remembered how to do all this. The chat is working. I already tested it. The dates are all correct. The episode numbers, unlike the last two recorded shows that we did in advance. Everything is lined up. I had to say 2025 for the first time. We nailed that. Welcome back to a new year, and as usual, we're starting with the tradition that goes back about a decade. The best of the previous year. It's a two-part experience. This week, TV, movies, and a new category. Next week, all video games, because it's the thing me and Sean are going to spend the most time on.
It's the best time of the year. If I could sing, I would break out in a song of "It's the most wonderful time of the year right now."
When are you?
And you would all be dazzled.
When are you going to do a tier list of the best years of the past X amount of years?
We have kind of dabbled in that.
I want you to tier rank these shows over the past decade.
We did do a best of the 2010s in January of 2020. We did a best of the 2010s, so kind of like that in a sense, where we picked all our top 10 of each thing throughout the decade.
Yeah.
Not good enough.
Okay.
I want you to
Cody's
tier list
coming
them.
in 2025, coming in hot with
Yeah.
ideas. He's the new guy, wants to make his mark on the show.
An idea?
It is an idea.
I want to see what year, if Sean ranks any year in F. Or was any year just so bad for pop culture that he would hate it that much?
Yeah, 2020.
Doesn't count.
That was pretty bad. And,
why?
And we've talked about like some years, like if this game wasn't this year, it would have been the best game of the year. Alternatively, like this game really shouldn't be the game of the year, but there was so little else that really made an impact. So, but anyways, that's not what this show is. This show's best of 2025. To be honest,
2024.
It is
2025.
Best of 2024. Thank you. I don't even know why Dave and Cody are here. No, actually, I know a little bit of why Cody's here. I take that back. So
I made a list of things like you do.
That means is I
actually watched a lot more movies this year than I realized.
Yeah.
I just deliberately watched every movie that was shit so I could talk shit about it and make fun of it.
Great.
And I'm not fucking kidding, Dave, as you're laughing at me. I waited for everything to hit the streamers, and I watched most of these movies that were like, oh, this was a big movie, and then it fucking tanked. So I was like, oh, cool, I'll watch it.
Did you watch Megalopolis?
Now I get to watch it.
Did not watch that.
Okay, well.
I watched a couple other bad ones, though.
That would have been better. So yeah, I don't know why Dave is here, but I'm sure he'll have some kind of list about his kids or sporting moments. ASU sporting moments of 2024.
To be fair, this is actually a good year for that to happen because every other year has been dog shit. This year was actually great for that. So,
we're not getting a ranking of your best kids of the year. Like you're not going to tier rank the three kids.
Ooh.
I would be slightly
maybe
more
in next week's
interested.
episode.
Like who had the best year?
Yeah, the best, the tier rankings of your kids. I would be more
that's
interested
next
in
week.
that.
We'll do that off air.
Yeah, that'll be next
We
week.
won't do that for them to have a record of it
Wait,
to
why?
hold against you.
No, I want it. The whole thing is to be on air.
Well, then next year when Dave has a kid that hates him because they got C-tiered, maybe we should preserve his relationship with his kids.
Dave had plenty of time to think about it because he didn't watch any movies, he played no games, and he watched no TV shows.
Give me like 11 years, Dave, and I will tier rank my kids with your kids, and then we could be like, yeah, no, they just really didn't stand out this year. They didn't learn a new instrument. They didn't have a sports moment. They just sucked.
And I'll be like, did you guys play a single video game this year? And you'll both say no.
Like, yes,
and
I played this game with my child.
I played college football 2K40 or whatever the fuck the one game you guys played is this year.
Promise you I will be playing that game.
Yeah, sounds good.
I know you're going to be playing that game. That's all you guys... Anyway, I can leave my grievances aside. This is a time
I would hope
for
so, considering that's the
celebration.
only thing they're going to get to talk about, and you're going to rant about fucking Oscar-worthy movies that no one else
I
cares
have TV
about.
shows. I have bad movies. It's fine. I'm prepared.
Hey,
It's
my
possible.
Oscar-winning movies, people do care about.
No.
Mm-mm.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No.
Big time.
You're going to tell me they care about that more than the ones that take $1.5 billion home at the box office?
Well, when you're talking about the best of, yeah, I think so. When you're talking about...
I heard your wife down there yelling that she does care. I would challenge her to be like, would you have more fun watching the shit movies and making fun of them with me, or going to Sean's art housey Oscar movies that depress you? Which one would you have more fun doing?
Well, I think if my list, and that's a good point, if it was all art house things that no one's ever heard of, or like I happen to see a foreign film this year that I just thought, no, I don't do that.
No, you don't, to your credit. And by the way, in case you're wondering, we had all those recorded things that we did in December. We did our best video game characters. Turned out pretty good. Check them out if you didn't see them. we are behind on other stuff because we did all that in advance. There's a lot to talk about. There was the Game Awards. There's a Sun season that's gone spiraling out of control. There's a lot to get to still, but unfortunately, these are carved out for these. I'm not saying unfortunately in that sense, but just we got 2 more weeks to get through before we can tackle anything topical. So don't worry, we'll still get to all that stuff too.
The Suns will still be losing. It's fine.
Oh, for sure. And they may have traded for Jimmy Butler by then. Who the hell knows?
And we'll still be losing.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to do this? Because I don't want to start with the boring thing. So we should save Dave.
We should probably start with Cody and I's thing to make sure we don't start with the boring thing.
Yeah, that's you. That's where I was going for sure. But no, actually, Cody did watch movies.
That's not where I was going.
So, isn't that nice? But now, Maisie, you say anything with Sean is the best, and it just kind of feels like it loses meaning now.
I'm also going to
know?
record you two bickering off air and be like, let's just see if anything with Sean is the best.
I want to point out, what did I say this weekend? I think that you two have the healthiest relationship ever, but you hate each other. I don't
that's
He
get
did
it.
say that 3 different occasions.
It's funny.
As you were yelling at each
after
other.
Uno, the deathmatch Uno, I was like, you don't have to be so antagonistic all the time. Although that was very fun. I like that Uno a lot.
Downstairs, by the way, Maisie said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah.
So, well, why don't we start with the new category, and then we'll go TV, and we'll finish with movies. Because I think movies is the one that has the most cross-brand appeal here for the 4 of us. I saw 5 movies this year. It's not a high number. It's probably my lowest in a while, but
I saw 3.
I will see Sonic 3. I haven't had time to get to it. That'll be 6.
There you go.
So
All right.
I
the
watched
new
like 15 movies
category
this
is something that I wanted to get to that would appeal to Dave and Cody because they don't have as much of a contribution on these other lists. So, like, we're not going to spend a lot of time talking about other sports because Sean doesn't watch anything but basketball. And I don't watch a ton either anymore, to be honest. I used to watch some baseball, a little bit of football, and I've kind of fallen off on all that too. However, this was a big year for sports, not just as a whole, but also for some individuals on the panel. We have a World Series title team winning. We have an ASU football resurgence that made the national championship bracket. We have a disc golf championship. So, like, we have some stuff that individually we have. This also could be a moment to talk about, like, sports betting. I know we've railed against it on the show, but the 2 of them are also pretty, well, they're not heavy into it, but they both do it. So, this is a chance to talk about your favorite moments of the year for sports, whether that's betting stuff. The Olympics happened this year. A lot happened there. Like, this is where we're going to talk about top 5s or so from that. And I guess we can just open the floor to one of you two and go into it.
I think in celebration of Antonio Pierce being fired by the Raiders since he tried to help ruin ASU's fucking college, I believe that Dave should start with ASU because I think it's honestly, of the things we would talk about, the coolest thing that happened. Realistically. Yeah. So I think Dave should start with that.
I'll do a tight 2 on that. I grew up loving this school because my parents both went there. My dad was graduating college when I was born. So my dad played in the band at ASU. So I've got the connection to colleges. It's a unique thing that happens. So I've always kind of followed them. When I was 11 years old, there was they were undefeated, had a great season. It kind of sucked me in, that when you're a kid, you have the team that you love is great. All of a sudden you really, really love them. This year was all those feelings came back again because of how unexpected everything came out for ASU. So for those who don't know, I'll do it very quick. They were picked to finish dead last in their conference, 16th out of 16 teams. They ended up winning the conference, finishing 11-2, and going to the playoffs. The first year this playoffs have been expanded in college football, and playing possibly one of the greatest college football games in history. And I don't think that's hyperbole to say it's maybe a top 10 all-time college football game where down, losing horribly in the first quarter, came back, tied the game on heroic efforts after our star running back puked his guts out on the sidelines and then came back in and scored threw for a touchdown and scored 2 others to tie the game. They lost in double overtime, but that was strange enough. It's not my top moment of this past year in sports because there's one other I think that got higher, but it is absolutely up there. So I had to do a quick minute on that. Shut up, Sean.
Also,
I'm just rolling my ass because I know what your number 1 is, but that is pretty cool.
And more importantly, I think than anything, there's no fucking reason. This is not a shot at ASU. That ASU has not been a football powerhouse. No, the state that it's in has gotten really good at high school football. It can pull from Southern California. It's a massive, fun school to go to. It's in one of the biggest, a big metro area. There's no fucking reason ASU hasn't been good other than its leadership has been dog shit for years.
And it looks like they've turned.
And they got a new AD. They hired a coach they should have hired. And didn't do the dumb bullshit they did. So that's why, like, genuinely, ASU should start to piss you off, everyone else off in, like, 8 years, especially being in the Big 12 as opposed to the Pac-12 now. And I think it's reasonable because there's no reason why it wasn't doing what USC was doing for a long time. I think, like, realistically, and that's not like a criticism. It's just you see a program that had this potential and it finally is going to have it. And I mean, their coach, unless like Alabama or some SEC school starts calling, I don't know why that dude would go anywhere else other than hang around the school he's at now. So
doesn't seem like it. He's an alum himself.
Exactly.
It's fantastic.
So. You want to go now,
Cody? What's your top? Yeah, what's your top? What's your sports moment?
I mean, I think it probably is obvious. Personally, is obviously my favorite baseball team signing the best baseball player that exists in the world, and then
ever
actually winning the World Series, which for all the money and all of they're the favorite and blah blah blah. Baseball is fucking insane and unpredictable, and it's really hard, even with a stacked roster, to actually win in the playoffs, especially when your pitching just dies, including the fact that Shohei never pitched this season, and having, again, similar to Dave, like I watched this team my whole life, and I treasure the 2020 that they won the World Series in 2020. But I think society as a whole doesn't remotely give a shit that they won. Then because of all the quirks and all the weirdness of that schedule, we don't need to get into that. So to see them get to the World Series, get lined up, and I think this was as much as people are going to whine, it was great for baseball to play the Yankees. And then everyone says online, I'm not going to watch that because it's just the two shitty teams. And then it's all the best rated fucking baseball games that have been on TV for years and years since, I don't know, 11 or 07, whatever the fuck it was. And so to have that actually come through and happen, as you know, Dave is talking about having a comeback, and the game that the Dodgers clinched is one of the funniest sequences of baseball, honestly, I think almost anyone has seen, as the Yankees just crumbled and fell apart, because it just was hilarious, was really, really fun. And I didn't even watch as many games this year as I have in years past. I was busy and things were going on. But to actually be able to sit down and be like, okay, so this is the team that was picked to win, and this and all that. And I don't know how often the preseason favorite in baseball wins the World Series. Weird, quirky shit happens, whatever happens, and they actually followed through. Now, granted, people are so shitting on them, but that was really, really awesome to actually get to experience in a regular season against the rival who goes back 80 years, basically.
You had a 50-50 season out of Shohei, which we can, stolen bases have been resurgent, and that's not a word, and the bigger bases and whatever. Fewer pickoff attempts. Still, I mean, Ricky Henderson, good God, who just died, unfortunately, a couple weeks ago, was stealing 100 bags on the regular in the bygone era of like the late 80s. So it's not like this is the worst that stolen bases have ever been. You get to watch him have a 6-for-6 game with 10 RBIs. Like, you get to watch a Freddie Freeman walk-off grand slam in game 1 where he just pimped it the whole way on one leg. Like, I mean, there's a whole lot to cherish. And fuck the Dodgers, but it was a great season for them.
And again, Chris and I were talking about someone else is going to get 50-50. It ain't going to be Shohei again. The man stole 50 bases and then wrecked his shoulder stealing a base in the playoffs, and he's about to start pitching again. They're not fucking letting him run like that. So Shohei's a great player, but you may have actually just watched the best season he's going to have in his career and the new rules and versions of this shit. Because it's going to be really hard to replicate when he starts pitching until maybe they shut him down pitching in like 3 more years, which I wouldn't be shocked. But.
Yeah, but even then, I'm not sure it's going to be easy. I mean, the only other person that comes to mind for me is Acuna, who had a 40-70 season. But like, you got to have power to have 50 home runs. There's only a handful of guys who do it every year, and most of them are not exactly fleet of foot. And like, the Yankees aren't going to let Aaron Judge start running crazy. So it could end up being like the only 50-50 season we see for at least a while. Who knows? It could happen again next season too. But I'm just saying, like, it might be that was actually really rare. My number one sports moment of the year was Steph Curry in the Olympics, which is something that Sean would have on his list if he bothered to care about it. But that was something that we did talk about before, so we won't spend a lot of time on it here. But just, we've watched Steph go crazy in a variety of settings, but he was on our team that day. That was the major difference. And it was also alongside LeBron and KD and all the narratives with that, the old guard, etc. He obviously went crazy in the semis against Serbia as well, but then to do what he did in the gold medal game, 4 threes on 4 straight possessions, with France pushing them every step of the way. Even that last one, it was 6 points before he hits that 3, and then Booker gets a layup to like put it completely out of reach. But just to have that be for USA, his only time playing for them, like all the narratives coalesced, and it's rare that happens. There's lots of narratives out there all the time with Twitter and Reddit and everything else, to see basically everything come together, especially after he was not very good until the semifinals. I mean, that's going to be the defining moment of his career. Not his finals MVP, not his titles. That is the Steph Curry moment, and how cool that we got to see it at age 35.
And I had a hard time thinking of when I've enjoyed watching basketball more than that moment. Like, overall following a team for a long period of time, the Suns when they're good is a fun thing to do over time. But in that one moment in time, holy shit, that is some of the most fun I've ever had watching basketball. Just seeing a man who is completely destroying another team and watching where Kevin Durant and LeBron James are wide open, and it's a good shot that he falls away with 3 people on him. It's crazy to see. I've never seen it like
it's so hard to replicate any of the other major sports in international play in the way that basketball does it. It's such a one-on-one sport. People are they're going right against each other in the playoffs. But and all the drama that surrounds the NBA and all that shit. But when that just kind of goes away and you put all these incredibly fucking talented American players on the court together, you don't get the NFL. Obviously, it's not in the Olympics. Hockey doesn't work the same way. People line change. It goes quicker. It's also not really American as much as it is very international. And baseball doesn't exist in the Olympics. So of the 4 major sports, basketball is the only one that translates to the Olympics and unifies a country to watch this team. After you fucking hate LeBron, you fucking hate Curry, whoever it is, most people are like, no, I want my team to win the gold medal. And it's the only professional sport that can replicate it in that way.
JJ Redick had some comments that went viral a couple weeks ago talking about how negative the NBA media is towards its own game sometimes, and the whole debate about three-point shooting and people's dissatisfaction with the game. It's a good 4 minutes. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. But I think one of the things I thought about after he said that was, to basically Cody's last point, it's the one time everybody unified, because everybody's always tearing down everybody else, and we're guilty of it too, like other players that we hate, whatever, when it's like there's a ton of talent in this league, more than ever before. So, like, the rare opportunity to have people unite instead of so everybody's extolling everybody's virtues. Yeah, LeBron's great and Steph is great.
Yeah.
That's the only time that conversation had happened and will happen. So I guess we should have enjoyed it while it was on.
Because we're not going to have it again in 4 more years. It's not going to exist.
Yeah, they may not. I mean, will any of the 3 of them be there? We've talked about maybe KD because he'll still only be like 39 and could still be fine. And maybe LeBron if he's still playing just because of where the Olympics are. But those both feel like reaches.
Will basketball even exist anymore? Just kidding.
Eat your stupid shit.
But you know what? The fun part of the Olympics is I can still hate Luka because he's not on my team, even on the USA.
That's
so
right.
I can still hate
That
Luka.
might be the best part.
It's perfect. That's the thing is hate international players because you're never going to need to cheer for them. So you should hope that they're not on your actual NBA team and you can cheer against them in the Olympics. It's great.
Already do.
Perfect. Cody pushing xenophobia. Love it.
Hey, it's 2025. I can do whatever I want now. The country spoke. Okay.
He was right.
He's wearing a red hat.
He's more in the
to be
right
fair.
than you are, Dave.
He's wearing a red hat. I see how it goes.
It's red and blue. It's America colors.
That was essentially it. I want to at least bring up the biggest one because it has a lot of overarching stuff that goes into it for each of the 3 of us. And, I won a disc golf tournament again. I won the Tree Bash Open for the 3rd time. We did an episode on it. I don't have to talk about it much. But considering how little practice I had for that, it's probably the one I'm most proud of, especially now that I've had time to think about it. And there was even random stuff, like the Suns came back from like 22 down with 7 minutes left against the Kings in a game back early in 2024, and it was just beautiful, beautiful basketball while it happened. Like stuff like that, little stuff. But it's not worth a ranking, and we have 2 other ones to get to.
Kevin Durant hitting the game winner against the Bulls was pretty sweet, too. That was one of those like, okay, hey, we have Kevin Durant. He's going to do great. Didn't happen. Didn't continue.
Well, he did, mostly, but we didn't.
We'll get there. We'll talk about it later.
All right, TV. My list of TV is the worst it's ever been this year.
Finally, we're getting to the good stuff. The boring shit's over. We get to TV.
I'm going to fall asleep during your stupid movie list. So.
No, you better not.
No, he's going to keep saying your name randomly as he's making points to pretend like he's including you, just to like wake you from your stupur.
Yeah,
Sean, you're gonna start with Shogun or something, right?
No. Well, no, because I wouldn't start. I would start at the end anyway. But Chris, I think, is gearing up to go first, and I'm fine with that. He said it was his worst year, though.
Okay.
But that's okay. How many did you watch?
3.
Okay, I know one of them.
They're all animated.
Uh-huh.
The Legend of Vox Machina Season 3 was good. I would say not the best of the 3, but if you've been following the show, it's a nice reminder of what Critical Role once was, because if you're following the 3rd campaign, you're probably not a big fan anymore. I won't say any more than that, fans. No, don't worry about it. X-Men 97 was the favorite thing I watched all year. A remake that really had no business being that good. I'm a little concerned about subsequent seasons because of the writer's situation, but we'll see. And there's a couple different anime that came out that I was enjoying, but I wouldn't I would recommend one of them. Spice and Wolf finally got a long-awaited remake that's going to take us through the manga and not cut off after season 2. So the fact that started was a big deal because that'll be, it'll finally have a full story for once. And then Frieren was probably my favorite anime of the last 5 or 6 years. A story about basically an elf who outlives everybody else in her adventuring party and how she comes to terms with the fact that all the people that she liked are no longer around and finds new people. And surprisingly heartwarming and also really well done. A little slow paced if you're looking for like heavy action and stuff. It's not the place to be, but I enjoyed it quite a bit. If I had a ranking worth anything, it would have been my number 1.
Did you watch Dan to Dan?
Nope.
Weird.
I've heard.
Pretty good, but it's weird. One of the so I want to bring up cancel culture on a future episode because you just touched on it right there. It's actually everywhere. I think it's really annoying, which is maybe a hot take. So, but I have a plan for that. I'm rubbing my hands together. I have a plan for everything.
From canceling
Just wait
yourself?
for
You're
it.
gonna cancel
Yeah,
yourself?
I'm gonna get canceled.
gonna-
That's
Man,
been on the
it sounds like
inside.
you're ready to be canceled.
Just wait till what I'm about to say.
Here are my favorite ethnic slurs of 2024.
Cody kicked us out with xenophobia, and now we
Yeah.
move forward to slurs. Love it.
Can't wait to get canceled. Cody, you made a list, but it's all bad TV. So
No, it's bad movies. It's good TV.
Do you want to do your list?
I mean, I could do it very quickly.
Is it a top what?
I mean, it's not like it's the best things I think are on TV. It's just things I think were good during the year.
No,
that
sorry.
watched.
I mean, like top 5, top 10. How many?
I mean, there's a top. I mean, it's mostly a top 1. I just primarily
you're just gonna
have
do the
my
best.
very clear. There's like a
Okay.
handful of things I was going to shout out really quick that were like good that are worth
Shout
watching.
away. Shout it.
If you like Vince Vaughn and you like the way Vince Vaughn acts, just watch this Bad Monkey show on Apple. I'm not saying it's an amazing show, but if anyone's actually a fan of Vince Vaughn and his rambling, monologuing sense of humor that he does in every single movie, they just let him run wild in Bad Monkey. I mean, it's made by the people who made Scrubs and Ted Lasso, and it seems like it's just a vehicle of like, all right, Vince Vaughn, be you as a Miami police officer or detective. And then he just wanders off, and it's a very dark black humor show. But it got renewed for a second season. Again, I don't think it's like the most amazing show ever, but I love Vince Vaughn quite a bit, and it's worth watching.
Is that a Marvel? Or is that a different monkey show?
No, it's a different monkey show.
Okay.
That's like Monkey. There's a Monkey Man movie that was a weird movie, but no, Bad Monkey. But the monkey has nothing to do with the fucking show.
Monkey
honestly.
Man was an action movie
It was a movie.
by Dev Patel.
Yes. Anyway.
Anyways.
It sucks this year. We lost Curb Your Enthusiasm because that show wrapped finally, which was really good revisionist history for the finale of Seinfeld is what Larry David chose to do. I'm not going to do any more than that, but it's just a shame that we're losing that show because especially in this day and age, I think that the commentary that show provides is pretty damn funny. So that's a bummer that that's gone.
So he didn't double down on the Seinfeld. We're gonna make it even worse than Seinfeld. Just to
No.
prove a point?
I mean, I don't want to spoil it, but
Okay.
like he basically did what he probably should have done in the Seinfeld finale, and he and Jerry Seinfeld talk very frankly about this, like on the episode. It's a very meta finale, but it's really funny.
Cool.
The whole
It's on the list.
yeah, the last you don't really need to know much else about the show. If you could watch that last season, it's almost like a mini series of just
Nice.
here's Larry David. If you understand how quirky and weird he is, you get the bit of what's going on there. What We Do in the Shadows also ended. That show, I don't think anyone notices how many Emmys that show got. It won Emmys a lot for comedy and things like that, and I just think it got overlooked during its 6-season run. As Sean talked about, he likes that movie a lot. Again, it's a very niche type of thing. I understand vampires hanging out on Staten Island in modern day and then them living their average
I love
life
it. Yeah.
is a really niche bit, but that show is way better than it had any business being when it spun off of an independent movie, more or less, by people who are very funny. Taika Waititi and Jeremy Clement, right, or
Yep.
who I think made it originally. Very funny people, and I think they EP'd this show from its whole run, but that ended too. Again, it's kind of a bummer. It's another award-winning show that I just don't think people knew about a lot of the time.
It's on my list, but I can't possibly watch it until I finish the Orville for Dave.
I won't get into X-Men 97 because, Chris already did, again, and just unbelievably how good that show came out.
So surprising.
Shockingly good.
Yeah.
That it's like took 2 episodes. I mean, again, when we showed up, we were watching in Phoenix. I walked in, I'm like, all right, what are you doing? And we watched it. I was like, oh no, I'm fucking in.
Yeah.
It took about 10 minutes of that show to be like, no, I want to watch all of this right now tonight. A new show that, again, I was very surprised, but I got annoyed by all the ads during football. St. Dennis Medical on NBC and Peacock. I know that comedy on network TV is not at its strength anymore, but if you liked The Office or Superstore, because St. Dennis is made by the same guy who did Superstore, who was from The Office and all that. It's actually very fucking good. I watched it and I was like, this has, again, no business being actually as funny and kind of heartwarming in the first 7 episodes I think I've seen so far. It's worth actually checking out. It's also mostly appropriate other than the last episode when someone gets a engagement ring stuck around their dick and then they have to find a way to saw it off. So that was pretty fucking funny to see on NBC. Let's see. I will save Fallout and Penguin because I'm assuming, are you going to touch on either of those?
Both.
Yeah, so
Both.
I will halt there because those are the
Spoiler.
other 2 that I have. They're the 2 best shows that were on TV this year.
That's hot.
It's a hot take. I don't care.
I'll run through. I have a couple, so I'll let
Bluey,
Sean get to his
season
season
6.
No, well, I mean, it was the show actually had a long episode this year, which normally they're 7 minutes long. This one's a half hour. It was talked about a lot, and there was speculation that the show was actually going to end. It's not, but they are going to take a break. It's still funny, so yeah, that's a show I watch with the kids is Bluey because it's still fantastic. However, a couple other shows that I did watch, a couple of animated ones. Lower Decks from Star Trek series is wrapped up this past year. After watching some of what people call new Trek, the Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard, Lower Decks was such a relief to watch because it was fun and light and witty as opposed to what they did with Discovery and Picard, which was like everything sucks and everybody's gonna die. It's like, that's not why I watch Star Trek. I don't watch that because everything sucks. I watch it because everything's good. So it was really kind of refreshing to watch a show like that, which is funny, witty. They're silly about it. It's the parody of Star Trek that everyone thought the Orville was going to be, basically, but it's actually Star Trek. So I appreciate that.
I heard that they have a multiverse deconstruction episode that basically explains why multiverse stories don't work. In the trappings of a multiverse story, that sounds like it does work. So
I have a confession. I have not seen the last 2 episodes. I have 2 left, so it might have been one of those last 2, unfortunately. So
that sounds amazing, honestly, Sean.
Yeah,
that actually sounds fantastic.
Yeah, and it's basically because no one fucking cares about all these other stories.
Yeah.
Anyways.
If I have to care about everybody, I don't want to care about anybody.
Yeah.
That's honestly the way I look at it.
That makes total
sense. But they don't even care about everybody because that planet that died. But,
no, exactly.
That's a multiverse, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, but it does.
Multiverse Cody will care about that multiverse movie, but I don't care about this one.
I sure will. Yeah, exactly. All right, what else? Star Trek, Lower Decks.
Last couple. Invincible, season 2 finished for Invincible. Honestly, I didn't like it that much.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much I didn't like it. The voice acting's phenomenal. The grit, the violence, the gore, they do a good job with it. The storyline just wasn't good this season. Again, multiverse. They went into the multiverse, and it was one of those yeah, I'm glad. Great, you're in the multiverse. Yay, I got to see my favorite characters who I thought are heroes either get killed or be bad guys. I'm like, yeah, but I don't care because there's a million of them.
Yeah,
so what?
That was sort of the danger that I was curious with how they were going to address it, because I thought in the comics that first arc was very good and everything after it kind of tailed off. And unfortunately, they might be on the same track here with the show as well.
Yeah. The last one I'll leave for Sean because it's Fallout. Fallout was by far the best show of the year. So
you don't have to leave it for me, but we can debate it. We can bring it up when we. Well, that's 2 votes for a best of the year, though.
I like Penguin more,
Yeah.
but
okay, well,
but
still.
honestly, marginally, because one had Walton Goggins and one didn't. So
yeah, I mean, that's true.
you want to put Walton Goggins as Black
Walton
Mask in a
Goggins.
fucking Batman show? I'll watch the shit out of that right away. So
Yeah.
Walton Goggins helps just about any show he could possibly be in because he's in Invincible as well, and he does a phenomenal job in the voice acting there too.
There's maybe it's from the Righteous Gemstones. There's a meme where he's given a bitch, you did not just look at me look.
I mean, is he in old man makeup? Because then
Or,
yes, it
or
would be
maybe it's
Righteous
the White
Gemstone.
Lotus though. Maybe it's that because he's in that too, right?
I mean, he's in the new
No.
season. He's gonna be in the new one that hasn't come out yet.
Oh,
I think
I
he's in
didn't know
season
that.
3, which is the only temptation I have to watch it because I don't like the White Lotus.
It's it's a slow motion where he looks behind him and he looks surprised, and then he gives you a knowing look, like he's not surprised, and he's like, "Bitch, you're pathetic."
Does he look like himself, or is he in?
He
old...
looks like himself.
Oh yeah, then it probably can't
Okay.
be Righteous Gemstones. He's an old man in Righteous Gemstones.
Okay, all right. Stay tuned.
Which, by the way, stay tuned for 2025 with that show coming back, as I force
I'm excited. That's on
anyone
the list
I
too.
can to watch it because I think it's one of the.
Cody
funniest shows
recommended
on TV.
Succession. We loved it. And I have Apprentice to talk to you about, but it didn't make my top 10 movies, so we're gonna talk about it later. But anyways,
I one last shout out for show that I just started the season that came out this year was Shrinking. Forgot to mention that one. If you like you mentioned earlier, Vince Vaughn just going crazy, being his normal crazy self. If you like Jason Segel being a neurotic mess, as he does a lot on TV, that's what this show does. But also, you get the benefit of Harrison Ford being a cranky asshole.
I say, is Harrison Ford also old Han Solo being a grumpy dick?
Kinda, yeah, without the lightsaber, but yeah, without the blaster.
He didn't use a lightsaber, Dave.
I realized my mistake as soon as I said it. I apologize.
I actually do really need to watch that show, so I'm glad that you're carrying on the fact that it's continuously staying good. I really need to watch that show because I'm sure
watched the entirety of season 1, started season 2, which did come out in 2024, so I am going to be catching up on that when I can. But and also, I think Squid Game technically came out in 2024.
It sure did, Dave. It sure did.
So Squid Game. I've watched a few of them. I have not finished that season either because it came out very late in the year in 2024. But that had, again, man, that show, it runs the gamut of emotions and also makes you question what you would do in that situation in every single moment. Which
language did you watch it in, Dave?
Dave, I'm sorry, I missed it. You said how much have you watched of season 2?
I've watched I've watched 5. I think we got to
great
4.
You're like you're more than halfway through.
Yeah, more than halfway done.
You watched it in English, didn't you?
No, there's the subtitles. Obviously, I have to read the subtitles. No, you want it in Korean.
Okay, I was making sure you watched it correctly. That's all I wanted to know.
Hey, jeez, man. I know. I made that mistake in season 1. Historians of the show will remember that I said that, and I said I didn't realize I could watch in Korean. So there you go.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just to illustrate how much work I do for this one episode, I watched all of season 2 of Squid Game because I knew it came out. We had a whole plan how we were gonna crunch all those episodes in. And
what a tremendous way of enjoying television experience!
Yeah, it's a job,
quote unquote, cramming it all in to watch it just for this show.
Exactly, but that's how much I care.
This is why we didn't get to watch the challenge, is because Sean was busy doing this.
Yeah, if we could bring up the challenge, if I knew that, I would have.
Look, we're gonna hijack 20 minutes of an episode like 3 weeks from now when we finished it and we review our standings. So it doesn't matter.
We gotta do that too. Let's just one more thing planned. So I'm gonna actually breeze through most of these pretty quick. Starting with number 10, House of the Dragon season 2. Still good. I think it is deviating from the book a little too much and from the stuff people were really excited about. So it might be losing its way a little bit. George R. Martin went on this whole diatribe about things that are not faithful. So, but it's still a good show. When it's at its high, it's still very good. Evil season 4. Have you guys heard of Evil?
From you.
This is like a Lifetime Achievement Award because the show was very good, but season 4, just kind of like, I think they got canceled, so they were scrambling to finish all the loose threads. They did dirty. One of the worst ways you could do a character dirty, just because they I think he got a show somewhere else. So he was a great character and they just made him like this cheating fucking bastard. And why would you do that? Why would you fucking do that?
It's unusual now. You used to see that in sitcoms 20, 30, 40 years ago, but you don't really see that in the streaming era now.
Yeah. So that was terrible and it really left a bad taste in my mouth. But again, like when they're hitting and they're being kind of creepy and scary, also with some commentary, it's very well done. Agatha all along, I gave up on Marvel TV. I actually still have, but I made an exception for this show. It was good. And there was one episode with time travel that you could tell like this is the one they built everything toward, because it changes the way you viewed the entire season to get to this point. One of the best episodes of TV I saw.
So you didn't watch What If then?
No, I did not watch What If, or Secret Invasion, or any of those. I fucking hate What If, by the way. So I watched season 1; it was terrible.
Not only don't you love the fact that we talked about how multiverse, it's like, hey, we don't really care about it. Now we're going to make a series that, hey, it didn't actually happen, but what if it happened? What if you cared about this?
And what if it happened in like 18 different ways?
But they're like, the fucking thing is not like, what if anything fucking interesting? It's like, what if this character was in the entire plot of Guardians of the Galaxy? And you're like, I don't know, it'd probably be that movie, but with a different. It's not even interesting questions they're asking.
I won't derail this too much, but yes, what if Black Panther with Star-Lord was off? I will never watch you again.
Fucking terrible. One of the worst things I've ever seen.
Thanos is a good guy, and I was just
Yeah.
like, no,
Yeah.
we can move on. Anyway,
We can.
carry
What
on.
if Hulk is red?
But I just want to say with Agatha, then the last episode was one of the worst because it's all caught in the gears of building for other shit. And I've not felt that as much as I felt it at the end of Agatha. And I was like, can we just tell a cool story?
When you get to Penguin, I'll chime in a little bit on that.
Okay, great.
Because I actually have something to say about that.
Arcane, the season 2 was flawed. I don't know if you heard anything about season 2, Chris. It was flawed. I actually enjoyed it more than season 1, but it definitely had its issues. The last 3 episodes could have been split into its own season easily. And so that's how rushed everything felt. And you're just like, why? Well, I know why, because the budget ballooned out of control.
Yeah, I was going to say, because the animation's fucking gorgeous, but to keep it up for those levels, they probably didn't have the time or the commitment.
Yep. But it still makes it feel like, God, they just rushed the shit out of those last few episodes. One of the characters, he became one of my favorites, actually. He plays such a prominent role, and we spent almost no time with him until like the end of the season. And like it's just too bad. All the way across. It should have had 3 seasons. But, they're like, it was our plan the whole time. No, it wasn't. No, you fucked up. X-Men 97, we've talked about it. Really, really great. That's all I'll say. So top 5. This is where things matter. Okay? Penguin was my number 5. And it was really, you're shaking your head, but I think top 5, Penguin's pretty good.
Fine.
To make a character relatable and borderline sympathetic while not taking away their bite is really tough to do. And so often you see an anti-hero show where they're like, actually, they're a good guy all of a sudden, even though they're bad everywhere else. Penguin really walks that line. And it's better for it. There was a really upsetting thing that happens in the finale. And I think Maisie is like, I wish they didn't do that. And I'm like, no, I think they needed to, but it sucks for sure.
And it was you could see it coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
And just because a show has a predictable endpoint doesn't mean the journey to get there isn't going to be really enjoyable.
Certainly. I absolutely agree.
While writing the most obvious direction you could, because it's what you needed to do to set up things in the future, it was so fucking well written. And the 2 leads, those 2 of the better performances I've seen in a long time. I mean, we joked about this when we were doing Colin Farrell. And I was like, I can't wait to see how he does in the Penguin show. Holy fuck.
Nails
Any
it.
expectation I had, he blew out of the water.
I think disappeared in the role, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Is a term
I don't know that it's him.
I think it's overused. I think Heath Ledger in the Joker, and who was another DC villain, by the way, and then Colin Farrell as Penguin. Just absolutely different people.
And Christina Milioti, who I just think gets lost in the world of television for some reason, because everything I watch her in, she's
amazing.
Amazing and wonderful.
She's one of my favorite actresses because she's always great.
She is, and I want her in more stuff. And this was like the vehicle to really show her off.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great. And hopefully we'll get more of her in the future.
Yeah.
So what I was going to note about Agatha is just really briefly is Marvel had a show that was a pretty good show for once, but then felt the need to shoehorn itself into the bigger picture. Letting this Batman universe from Reeves operate apart from what Gunn is doing lets you do cool shit that you can just write the fucking finale for. And now, granted, this is setting up a second Batman movie that's now 2 years away. But the fact that this doesn't have to connect to a bigger, wider DC universe, and this is just, here's Penguin. Here's Penguin trying to be more penguin-y.
Yeah.
And shit like that
you know what, though? Like, because I agree with you, and yet they also connect better than most Marvel shows.
Exactly.
Because the, Dave, you don't know this, but what happens at the end of Batman is like the whole district gets flooded.
Mm-hmm.
And they built that into the show so well.
And that's the next point I was going to make is, you ever want to see the, oh shit, the blip happened and we never got an idea in the Marvel universe what that really meant for everyone?
Yep.
Hey, a big fucking flood destroyed Gotham. Here's how it impacted a fuck ton of the town, was the delivery system of Penguin while telling you 2 other stories. And that's why I thought it was just so fucking... That's why it was my favorite show of the year, is because I just love Batman so much, and I love Batman's villains, and I love the very Mafia-esque thing, and people could say it's overdone, blah, blah, blah. And the way they did Penguin is, you don't have to give a fuck about Batman because he's barely referenced. It is just a mob boss fight for control, and it happens to be set in Gotham show with the residual of that flood. And it's just... I just sat there watching, like, mouth wide open, like, oh my god, this is just so much better than I could have thought it was going to be. So, anyway...
And you mentioned Colin Firth playing that.
Farrell.
Is there a better? Sorry, Farrell. Sorry. Is there a better accolade you can give to an actor than I didn't realize it was them? Almost, where it's like,
I don't know.
I don't know if you can give a better.
It's in no way, and
kudos
it's unfucking believable. Because again, I know he's in a big fat suit. He doesn't look like himself and all that, and he's hobbling around. So that helps him disappear into it. But like accent, everything, it's just like
Demeanor.
this is
like
this
edge.
is the fucking dude from Miami Vice. Like that's just like you think about it. And I'm like, and again, we talked about it on an episode. It's just fucking wild.
It's crazy to me that like you'll see him as a character trying to make himself endearing to like this kid that he's mentoring, but like in a way where you can almost tell that he's only half sincere.
Yeah.
But that's intentional by the act. It's not like the actor's doing a bad job. He's doing like exactly what he needs. It's
a very
incredible.
it's a very layered performance
Yeah.
because there's so much tragedy on top of him being a conniving piece of shit, and it's just oh my god, it's just one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite performances I've seen in so long.
And then
on
it's
TV.
so weird that you have a B plot that is arguably better than the A plot
exactly
with Kristen Milioti. So yeah,
it
incredible.
honestly is.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad to think that there's some world out there in the multiverse, the much derided multiverse, where Ledger's Joker and Farrell's Penguin somehow ended up in the same project.
Yeah.
It would have. I mean, if you had the right Batman for that, you make a like 2 hour and 10-minute movie, and you have a fucking blockbuster superstar shit out of all that.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Number 4 is Squid Game season 2. Dave. I don't want to spoil too much because you're still watching it. I was surprised at how well they were able to justify like, oh, back in the games again. But it like works and you're excited. You get some crazy episodes outside of the games too. That the build up, you get some Russian roulette happening and you're just like, what the fuck is going on? I think the main character is so much more interesting now with this mission and you know what he considers to be blood money and how he's going about it. It's fascinating. And then I think they make you believe he would do these games again and for what the reason is. The games are still just as harrowing and exciting. Yeah, the recruiter, the character, he's great. The problem, if you want to call it that, is it is truly, I don't know if they're marketing it like this, it's part 1. And that's like very clear that it is halfway through the story. And that can be okay, but some plot lines that are pretty heavy early on are almost forgotten about by the end. And I am assuming in part 2, they're going to come back to the forefront. But right now I'm left with like, what about that one chick? She's been gone for like 4 episodes. So things like that hold it back from saying it's the best of 2024. But I think it's headed in a very good direction.
I feel like I have caught on to that more in some of the advertising, like, especially because being very transparent about having a season 3. I feel like I've seen more and more of like, hey, just so you know, don't get disappointed when this ending isn't really an ending because it's setting up season 3 even more than season 1 set up season 2. Like it seems like it's
like when you say it's a season, it's like it's so cliffhanger that like it's not. It's like it's not even like The Empire Strikes Back. It's like if you pause the movie midway through and you're like, that's it. What? So again, part 2 comes out. I think it could all be gravy, but that's where it's at right now. Follow up.
It's sad how that works though, isn't it? It's just like so many seasons seem to do that nowadays in TV, doesn't it? It's like, hey, here's a part 1 or here's season 1A, 1B. It's like, but I don't. It's so when you look back at the history of where we used to get like 20 episodes, 25 episodes a season in serialized shows, and now we're like, you're gonna get 6, and you're gonna deal
Well,
with
it's interesting because it's like it's a system that Netflix in particular has set up for binging, and yet it's like binge a third of the season. Because the thing that's not on Sean or my list for this year is Cobra Kai, a show that we both enjoyed quite a bit, but because its release schedule was so weird and other stuff was going on, we didn't get to. And the finale is still not coming out till early this year anyways.
I won't even consider it a 2024 show because the season is in 3 cours.
So we'll get to it in 2025, even though most of it was in 2024. And I imagine it'll be on both of our lists, but we'll see. But it's the same idea where it's like, all right, here's a third of the season and stop.
Yep.
Not having the traditional like television fall, spring schedules and things like that.
Well,
People being able to dump whenever and then also wanting to spread out their, okay, well, Squid Game came out here. Now we'll give it a couple weeks. Now we'll drop our next show here, trying to hook people on keeping subscriptions because you can't just bail out of cable.
And that's, I'm sure, is why. So
it's so clear.
I read reviews that were like, show is great. Netflix's treatment not so good.
Yeah.
So they did what they could with it, and it's still very good. Like, don't get me wrong. When it's at its best, I'm like, this is the best show of the year.
I really am hoping Netflix, especially Netflix specifically, and some of the other streamers as they take on live sports and things like that, get away from that dumbass bullshit gimmick a little bit. Netflix having wrestling now, which we'll get to later in the eventually future. They have a thing that keeps subscribers year round. I mean, not only that audience, but they're starting to add some shit where it's like, no, you kind of need this like nonstop. You need to pay your $12.99 for 12 months. I'm hoping more of them will get away from that type of gimmick crap.
Yeah.
We probably won't, but we'll see.
Well, so Fallout's at number 3, and it was very good. I thought it was... Actually, you know what? I was going to say, it was kind of cool seeing like all the Easter eggs from the games. I actually don't give a fuck. I don't care how much you honored the games or not. You went out, you told a story in the universe, 3 different plot lines that were all interesting and compelling on their own, and then when they converged, it was just incredible.
Rank the storylines.
I thought the Ella Parnell's storyline, I forgot what her character name is. That was the one I cared the most about because I thought her perspective was so interesting.
Because she's so wide-eyed and doesn't understand the
But then
world.
also like has an edge, like does what it takes to survive. And when she's like golden rule motherfucker, that was like one of the best lines of 2024. So I love that. Probably Walton Goggins just because he's...
You have the same order as me.
Because you have the flashbacks that were so interesting too. But then Maximus's storyline is still good.
It's not bad at all. It's just I was curious if you had the same order as I did. And again, that means the worst storyline is still like an 8.5 to me.
It's still
on
very
quality.
good.
It's very, very good.
Yep.
But I was just curious if you had the same idea as I did.
Yeah.
But you mentioned, so what if it followed the story? When you have a good story and you have intertwining things like that, where there's 3 of them, and then you also nailed all the Easter eggs and nailed all the little things about the names of the food, the look of the Pip-Boy, the look of the jumpsuits, of every single thing felt like I was watching a live action of the game.
Exactly.
And
And
it just felt
good.
Exactly. They just wrote a new version, a new entry into the series of the game's history, and they made it a TV show.
Yep.
And holy fuck, we can't even get adaptations of storylines that were already existing to be good to take a universe and write your own organic thing. Because, like, again, I hardly have played Fallout. I played a little bit of it, and Raya, my fiance, was like, "So does this make sense for this?" I'm like, honestly, I don't really fucking know because I didn't.
Who knows? Who fucking cares?
I haven't played a lot of Fallout, but this is a fucking great show, so I don't really care.
It's like the cherry on top. If you're what Dave's saying, like if you can do that, awesome.
And that's why I went to you and I was like, "Does this hold up and make sense a couple times?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's all good." I'm like, "Cool, even better."
Yeah, absolutely. So that was number 3. That's I think the next 2 we don't spend a lot of time on. The Bear season 3. It's kind of that lifetime award again, where when it's good, it's really fucking good. There's some excellent episodes. It just you could tell that they were trying to stretch a storyline into 2 seasons. They probably could have wrapped up the show this season. And because of that, Jeremy Allen White's character, it just is kind of spinning his wheels. And you're like, are you going to develop or not? Because you're just kind of angry all the time. I thought we kind of made it through this. So that was frustrating. But I am sure they're just setting it all up for his big redemption next season. It's still fucking excellent. Number 2 show of the year, The Bear. I mean, I love it. It wasn't peak season 2, The Bear. You're shaking your head. I think it's really unfortunate you're not going to watch it. Number 1 is Shogun. I think when you're looking at a show and there's no show this year that was as complete and compelling and rich the entire way through. Like they just nailed every part of it. All the performances were excellent. The storyline was really complex and exciting, even when it was slow burn. It was just incredible.
How traditional of you for your top 2 shows to be on FX, an actual television channel?
Yeah.
Because I realized as we were talking, I forgot to mention just very briefly, Mr. and Mrs. Smith was a pretty good show, and I'm excited. I'm glad that they did a cool adaptation with those 2 actors. It was really good.
Yeah.
But it's like that was a prime show. Fallout was a prime show. Like you actually, your top 2 things you had were Disney shows. In fact, it's Disney owns FX.
Yeah.
So
I'm just a fucking Disney
shill.
Disney shill. You know me. I fucking love Disney. See, Peter, Peter number 1 too, and we watched it together.
So they're making another season of that show, even though it was supposed to be a limited season series thing. Then they conned them into making another one because it was so good. I'm mostly using it as this is how good everyone believes that show is. It just wiped the Golden Globes, if I remember right.
Now I don't know what they're gonna do because the best actor on the show, they killed her.
Well, you spoilers. Thanks.
Well, I'm sorry.
Because you even gendered her. It could have just been the best
Yeah,
actor, and I wouldn't
sorry.
even have known who it was if I wanted to watch the show.
Yeah,
ever.
I want to make it clear that I think she's the best actor of
Okay.
the entire show, though.
But yes, I just to your point of how good it was, it just won a bunch of Golden
Yeah.
Globes, and it's being forced into a second season because
Yeah.
FX has this money and says you have to keep making it. So
You know, when a show is good, just the quality of writing is just on another level, and that's what Shogun was. Just another level. God, I'm gonna have to fucking breeze through these movies. But that's okay. I'll go pretty quick.
oh, that's right. We have movies.
Nosferatu was really good. It was. I was not expecting it to be just a horny, pretty faithful adaptation of Dracula. Like
You were not alone in that. Apparently, a lot of people were caught off guard by how horny it was.
yeah, very horny, but really good. Like and what I liked about it, sometimes Roger Eggers is one of those two names. I think his
Robert.
movies meander a bit, and this was because he was adapting Bram Stoker novel. He was like pretty faithful, and it had direction, and it was like, oh, look what happens when you just tell like a tale from beginning to end. So really good. And Bill Skarsgård is like amazing as always, and creepy, and it was scary and weird and all that. So and horny. It was very horny. Heretic, the Hugh Grant movie.
Also horny and creepy, right?
No, not horny at all, actually,
Okay.
but creepy, yeah. But also the writing. Like I think I told you, at times it feels like I was like in a Tarantino movie all of a sudden with the way that he was using like Monopoly and iterations of Monopoly to describe what's bad about religion, and you just get into this religious debate within a horror movie. It was just very, very cool.
Maybe I actually want to see that.
It is. I'm telling you, it's great. Yeah, we'll talk about it more later. It's fucking awesome. Alien Romulus, return to form for the Alien series, much overdue after whatever the fuck Prometheus and its sequel were. Sorry if there's any fans. No, I'm not sorry. Those movies suck, and you're a bad person if you liked them. Late Night with the
Damn.
Devil, so original. I have it so high on my list just because it's such a unique movie experience that happened to also be very good. Dave, it's just a late night talk show, like shot with those old cameras, but like where something terrible happened. So almost kind of like found footage. But the premise was great, and then they followed through with the execution.
Do you know where that's streaming now?
I don't.
Okay,
But
I'll
you should.
take it.
You should.
I tried to
absolutely watch
actually
it.
try, but Ryan and I tried to watch it, and I could not find it anywhere.
Yeah.
And so I'll try and watch it again.
So Anora is one of the critics' darlings. This is maybe the one exception on my entire list that proves Chris is right. The only one though, and the first part of the movie, it was very much like Poor Things, where it's just like ultra horny, and I'm like, okay, like this is fine. They're banging all the time,
It's a
and
good movie.
and I get it. And then Act 2 starts. A whole bunch of mafia Russian enforcers come in, and they're trying to deal with this like firecracker character, and they don't know what to do, and they're trying to find the husband who bailed, and it becomes this like weird road trip where they're all together, and it's incredible. From the last 2/3 are one of the best movies I watched this year, and the first third is like, why did it take so long to get here? But it was really good.
Because they were horny.
They had to establish
They
like,
had to
hey,
get it out of their system.
you know, I guess if I'm going to be
Thank you,
naked
Peter.
in a movie, I might as well get my money's worth. Like, show my dick more than once if I'm going to show it at all. Right?
Yeah.
So,
Once it's out there,
The
once
seal's
it's easier to repeat it.
yeah, like, don't show
Yeah,
it for
once
1
the seal's
second. Really
broken.
focus on it.
Yeah, helicoptered around.
Yeah, like a few different times. Wicked was really good. I was surprised because I found the musical to be okay, and the movie was great.
I wasn't sure if it was going to be on your list.
Oh, so good. So good. And I think better than the musical I watched. And I think partially, there's one scene in particular nobody is probably going to know. It has to do when she's dancing. Does anyone know Wicked here?
I mean, vaguely, I saw the show on Broadway, so
Anyways,
I know it.
The way that they filmed it, a lot of those moments that I remember being somewhat confused about in the musical were just really hammered home in the film. Performances, the main lady was great. If you give me enough time, I can think of her name.
Ariana Grande.
Not Ariana Grande, although she was the biggest surprise for me because thinking I knew who she was so funny.
Everyone disrespects this girl, and she's never deserved all this disrespect. I don't understand why.
She's
phenomenal. I
the
don't know why I
way
hate
that
her.
she sells humor. I was like, you have to. This is one of the funniest performances,
what-
legitimately, that I've seen.
Watch her host
in a long time.
SNL any time
Yeah.
in the past 5 years, and you'll be like, "Oh shit, She's actually really funny, and she can act.
And
I don't know
way
why.
her face, like the countenance, when she's also doing physical, it's incredible. I was shocked. And then she delivers. I mean, she sells the popular song, which I forgot was part of this musical too.
Classically Nickelodeon trained, and no one has any appreciation.
No,
for
I'm
it.
telling you, Cody, you should watch it.
I'm not being a smartass. I fucking
know
love
you're
Ariana
not.
Grande.
And she deserves every ounce of credit.
It feels kind of like Shades of Lady Gaga all over again, where it's like, well, you're from another industry. You can't just come in here and be good at this too. It's
Yeah.
like gatekeeping kind of.
Yep.
It's like, no, she's actually really funny when she plays a dipshit on Nickelodeon. She's a great singer. She's really good at sketch comedy on SNL. I'm like, shocker that she was good in a slightly funny musical movie. She's done half that shit already.
And I just want to say, like, there must have been there's things that how she acts that there's no way they like planned for. She was just in the moment. It's like, I'm going to do this thing, and it just sells it. And when she's playing off of the more straight character, who's also just excellent, and it's part of why they just work so well together. The best, like, two leads, I think, in the year. And so they really carry weight.
Also, are you going to mention that it's part 1?
It is part 1.
Okay.
But unlike Squid Game, it's like, okay, I can see there's a clear...
I don't mean that sarcastically. It's just
Yeah.
like there's another one coming.
Yeah.
They got smart and didn't call it Wicked Part 1. They're just calling it Wicked, so you don't believe it's part 1 of a movie. Blah,
Yeah,
blah,
except on the title screen, it's Wicked Part 1.
Oh, does it actually say that?
When you go, they're like, we have you. You're in the theater
Okay,
already.
so once you gave up your money, they reveal, fuck you, you're not getting
Yeah.
the end of this.
Which I think worked
get to
because
do
you're
another one.
expecting the big number,
It's
defying
use-
gravity
it's
at the
useful
end.
there.
Yeah. So, and the Jeff Goldblum was great. Yeah, Michelle Yeoh was great. Everybody was just really good.
Goldblum's logical casting for that too. It makes sense.
Yeah, he is. Yes. Juror number 2 was good. Did you hear that?
I that is on so high up on my list.
You like
that it's
Nicholas
on
Hoult,
Max.
right?
No, I actually don't like it. Very
Oh,
much.
great. Okay.
But I absolutely want to see that movie. I want to watch it because Warner fucked up for the millionth time because it's the worst run fucking entertainment company, and that movie probably should be getting award recognition from everything I've read. It is literally as soon as Raya gets back, I'm watching that movie.
It's great.
I'm so excited to watch it.
And you'll see. I don't want to spoil anything, and I really won't this time. But you'll see very early on the movie. They're not trying to pull a fucking The Usual Suspects here.
No.
You see where they're going very early on, and it makes it so much more fascinating.
I don't mind. It's like it's literally like sometimes I will attempt to read the end of a fucking movie so I can enjoy the ride there, so I know where we're going, and I'm not trying to formulate it out.
You won't need
and
to.
so
on this
exactly,
one. Yeah,
I'm
it's
so
great.
fucking excited to watch that movie.
And what's great about it is they put the moral quandary right up front.
Yeah.
And so you spend the whole movie being like, well, what are they gonna do?
To be fair,
And it's great.
I have watched the trailer for what it's worth, just so
Okay.
you know. I showed it to Ryan. I'm like, this is on Max. We need to watch this, and she watched it and was like, I'm in.
It's so fat. So because you know what's happening, everything he says, you're like, oh, he's trying to walk this fine line. It's really interesting. So it was great.
Sounds like watching Traitors to me. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's one I would like to watch as well.
Oh, it's really good. You will all like it. Dune 2.
Tune.
Much
Tune.
better.
It's called Tune.
Tune.
It's called Tune.
This was what part 1 like should have been. I know why they split it off like this, but I finally understood when everybody's like, Dennis Villanueva, the vision and all that. I got it in this one. Everything worked. The planet that's all black and white and the fighting and the sound design. It's like, I get it. This is just more than like a movie. And the story was really good too. It was a good adaptation for somebody who has read the books. It was solid. Mr. Chalamet?
Chamlet. His name's
Chalamet?
Chamlet.
Everybody's saying, Bob Dylan is what he's going to get credit for. I think it was Paul Atreides in Dune. He was really
I'm glad he
good.
did something in that movie after he didn't do shit in the first one.
And they really drive home the idea of like, you all shouldn't be rooting for Paul. Like, you know that, right? And so he had the courage, I use loosely, talking about a director in Hollywood, but he stuck with the story. He didn't try to make Paul this like hero. He really was faithful, and that was great. Wild Robot, definitely the saddest movie of the year. You will cry if you have a soul.
I think I vaguely have seen advertisements for this, but I have known nothing
and
about this
that's
movie.
really it's so well done.
I don't really like being sad, so
It's one. Well, okay. It's not like Bambi sad though. There's a lot of.
Maybe it's
hope.
not sad.
Okay.
It's a drawing that got shot. Who cares?
Wild Robot, the characterization, the way that these relationships develop. It was a movie I didn't think, even though I saw the trailer, it went in different directions than I thought it was going to go. It was like a case to me of like, oh, this is why animation is so like important and such a good vehicle for telling these types of stories. It was really good. You will believe a robot can cry, Cody. That should have been the tagline.
I will believe a robot will kill me is what I probably will come away from a robot movie.
It's really good. And then they make weird decisions like the animals can talk.
They're robots.
And you're like, yeah, but it serves the story so well that you don't care at all. And you just want this fucking duck to learn how to fly so bad. That's all you want. I wanted this duck to learn how to fly more than I wanted the devil to show up on the late night or
spoilers.
Or
Stop spoiling
sorry.
shit.
Well, I'm not saying that the developed show. I'm just saying I wanted.
The title is Late Night with the Devil. You would assume the devil's going to show up at some point.
Late at the night, maybe. Keeps me waiting.
Yeah, I thought early evening with the devil.
Yeah, I'm expecting the devil right away.
When I went to go watch Deadpool and Wolverine, I was expecting both Deadpool and Wolverine.
Yeah.
But you're going to get Deadpool. You might not get Wolverine. You don't know.
What a bad title. You don't get Wolverine. And then Conclave is my number one movie, which was it was the mix of everything. It was kind of a little bit of artsy stuff that I like. The story was really good. The writing was really compelling. And they made just this thing at the Vatican that should be really boring. Like the most exciting thriller that you've ever seen.
That sounds fucking boring to me.
Yeah. They're voting for a new pope.
Oh,
but
I don't care.
But no. Listen, you can't vote in the pope who wants to bring human rights back 3 centuries. You also can't vote for the one who's sexually abusing people, but they're the ones that are like, they have all the votes. So what are you to do as the cardinal who's trying to get the best
It sounds
selection?
like the United States presidential race. I don't need to watch that movie.
It is. And that's why it is such a good film. Because the commentary is so universal and it's really good. And you know what? Where they end up though, I know we're being cynical, it ends up in a very good place. I won't spoil anything.
So they're not in the bad place. They're in the good place at the end of the movie.
They're in the good place. The conclave leads to the good place.
Okay.
And that's my best movies of 2024. I thought it was a pretty good year. Conclave took me completely by surprise.
It's an interesting year, right?
Yeah.
Because until Inside Out 2, the year was kind of just trash.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, both in terms of like critically acclaimed movies, but also just box office draw. The box office was down like 32% year over year until Inside Out went crazy and made like $1.5 billion.
I think only a few of these movies that I had on my list even came out before Inside Out 2. Probably Dune, I think. And
it's called 2.
That was it. Sorry.
So that was like late May, and then all of a sudden the year took off and ended up in a good place, but it was very backloaded, and it's unusual. I mean, we've come to expect summer blockbusters and then obviously like Thanksgiving, Christmas time, but this year in particular just felt a little bit weird.
Yeah.
Got to a good spot.
Yeah, we had an absence of DC and Marvel stuff as well for a chunk of that time. I mean, again, other than Deadpool and Wolverine, but just it feels like there's a lacking of what we've kind of come to expect for blockbustery type movies.
Yeah.
In terms of money and also, no one
Deadpool and Wolverine, not in my top 10.
No one wants to
although
go-
I did enjoy it, but I would have been surprised to say Nosferatu I enjoyed more. But
I'm not surprised by
I
that.
did.
I'm not
I
surprised.
just did overall.
I
So,
saw 5 movies in theaters, and all of them were 7 or 7.5s.
Yeah.
And none of them were on your list. Inside Out 2 was probably the best of them. Deadpool and Wolverine, Moana 2, The Fall Guy, and the Haikyuu movie. I enjoyed all of them. Would I sit there and be like, no, they hold up really well to the critical eye? No, not really. But, I'm at least enjoying the fact that if I'm going to pay $15 for a movie ticket and another $8 for a pretzel, I'm at least going to have a good time there. And all those were a good time.
I would say if I went 15 deep, Haikyuu, Inside Out 2, and maybe even Fall Guy would all have been on the list. So those are good movies.
I
Yeah.
am so relieved to hear because I think Fall Guy's going to age very well.
I think so too.
I think so.
I've rewatched it. I guess background noise. It's on Peacock, and I just keep finding like, yeah, this is a pretty rewatchable movie. I think that the movie's going to age well. It's not it's not like it's a blockbuster, like amazing award-winning movie, but I'm like, I don't see a lot of issues with where that was going.
It's going to be like one of those movies that people look back and like, oh, that movie's great. Oh, it only made $5 million at the box
Well, I mean,
office.
Right.
fuck, we said that like 2 weeks after it came out.
I
We're
know, and we knew it underwhelmed, but it was still stunning to look back on the year and see it at 28th
Yeah.
It's
in box office.
It's too star powered of a movie for that, with a really funny premise and well executed from a really niche, again, bit 70s television show or whatever. So again, I'm glad that when we went to that, you guys have come away from it being like, oh, that was actually really enjoyable.
Oh, yeah, it was fun.
In our 8-seat theater.
I find it crazy that even on a 15 deep, Sean, Moana 2 doesn't make it. Because I agree with you fully. I actually didn't really like it.
Well, The
I
Rock
didn't
was in
watch
it,
it.
so it couldn't be good.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's
I
the
didn't
rule.
watch it because I heard it was like a sequel that really doesn't need to exist, and like I actually don't like that because you could fucking break that down of any movie. No movie needs to exist, but I just the story, and it was adapted from a TV first, and people kind of thought like, maybe it should have just stayed on TV. But
I would argue there's tweaks to Inside Out too, because Inside Out's probably a top 3 Pixar movie for me, and I was unfortunately a little disappointed with Inside Out 2, just because. I mean, your main character, I don't think, learned a goddamn thing from the first movie. So
I liked it. No,
Joy
I liked it. I liked it.
I didn't dislike it. Just Joy is unbearable as a fucking character. It's just
Oh,
like
Joy-
you didn't
you're
fucking
talking about her.
yeah, like you didn't know. The character didn't learn shit from the first movie, which was the bummer. Which is why they needed to, because all the other new emotions, like anxiety, is great. That's a great bit and a great like the panic attack when they're swirling around and spoilers at the end and all that. I wanted a little bit more of the the relationship outside of her brain. I didn't think we had enough of that in the movie. I was a little disappointed. And then it just gets tricky when you have that many emotions. You have it's spread pretty thin with how many characters become in that. But I was actually, with the 4 that they came up with, I was impressed with the premise of where they were going for what I thought was going to be hard. My number one bitchy point was, do these emotions go back away because her parents only had the original emotions in their brains the very first movie, and all of a sudden all these other fucking emotions appeared, and I got really bent out of shape about that, and I couldn't let it go.
Sounds like a problem.
It's just continuity. Pixar's better than that.
I got
terms
bent out of shape by the recastings, and I didn't think that anybody who got replaced did a bad job, but I was surprised with this much money on the line how few of the cast came back.
Yeah, that was. I mean, Tony Hale works very well in Bill Hader's spot because Tony Hale sounds like that. I don't know the woman who voiced over Mindy Kaling, and I noticed very clearly Disgust did not have a long time of talking.
Yep.
And there was one monologue when Disgust talks a lot, and I looked over and I was like, boy, that was fucking jarring because that's not the voice that even resembles it. But Fear worked well because Hale, I mean, shit, you could have cast Hale originally and it would have worked really well.
Yeah. It's just odd to me when that movie makes $1.6 billion that they're like, we couldn't figure out how to make it work with these other actors. Like,
yeah, which was weird. The controversy around that because like it sounded like Hader wasn't like Poehler was getting way more money, and boy, Amy Poehler at times I swear like doesn't age super well in some of the things I read about her. I'm serious, so I don't know what that look was for, Dave. I've read some stuff.
No, I don't like. I've never really liked Amy Poehler.
Yeah, I just read some off-screen stuff of she's kind of not great. I was really surprised that Hader got shafted out of that since he's an SNL guy too. That he didn't like get bumping that. Anyway, sorry.
Well, 2024, one of the rare years that Aaron Taylor Johnson had a good movie. In Fall Guy.
He also had a really bad movie though.
And yeah. So it's so funny that Craven's still probably in theaters right now. Well, maybe not.
I think it left after 3
it probably
weeks.
left. But to go from Craven, he was also Nosferatu.
Holy,
And
are you
actually
fucking
did
serious?
Pretty well. But also being Craven, that's just dog shit.
When Aaron Taylor Johnson is an excellent Batman villain in 8 years, we're going to look back at the start of his career.
He's like Poison. He's box office Poison. But people keep hiring him. So, oh well.
I'm going to throw out one thing really quick because you didn't touch on this. Longlegs is one of the weirdest fucking things I've ever seen.
Oh yeah, I was going to talk about that. One of the weirdest I didn't want to say best. Weirdest performances. Nicolas Cage.
So you're so used to Nicolas Cage being unhinged and shit, and then you watch Longlegs, and I went in knowing what I was getting into, and it was still fucking insane. And I still don't really know how I felt about the movie.
It was okay.
I came away. I'm like, I still don't know.
I get, any time where the end of the movie is like, oh, guess what? The devil's always going to win. I'm like, okay, yeah,
cool,
sure.
I'm glad we got into this, and I know.
Yeah, thanks for spending an hour telling me that. But they don't totally do it. So I was a little bit okay with it.
But between that and Love Lies Bleeding, which I know you didn't love a ton, although
I didn't see it, but
I ended up being exactly right, basically, about how it was. Two really interesting movies that were just kind of gory at points and bizarrely acted, but I was entertained, so I guess that's all that really matters, and I didn't pay a dime to see them. So
Cody, I didn't understand. I'm sorry, just really quick because we have to wrap up. Although we're already over, so who cares?
We're good. This is always going to go like 75 minutes.
The end of Longlegs, when like the husband goes in the back, and you're like, so you're just gonna
let
him kill his wife?
Yeah, absolutely.
You could stop this.
Yeah,
you have a gun.
You fucking could, right?
You came all this way. Yeah, I know you want to protect the daughter, but you know what you could also do? Have the wife not get killed.
Yeah, but see, Sean, you can't preemptively attack him because you have to watch him commit a crime first.
Oh,
As a police
I don't
officer,
think they covered that in the movie.
No, I'm being a
though.
smartass.
Yeah,
But I was like, I think as a cop, even if you know crime's about to happen, you got to wait for the crime to happen to then stop him. Could you have walked back there as he was preparing to kill her? Yeah, you probably could have. But no, it's fine. We'll just let him die.
Also, Dave, I have a question. If a witness is just smashing his head against the table to kill himself, probably don't just sit there and watch him do it, right?
Would that be
Probably
a good idea?
try to.
I feel like as a law enforcement official, you probably would be held in some sort of contempt of like, not aiding, but like just, I don't know, that was the bystander, like not doing your job, basically.
So you're saying the fact that she watched
Yeah.
2 people die
Yeah.
when she knew
Look,
they were going to die?
If you manage to explode your brain on one good hit, that's I'm not gonna blame you for that. But this was like a series of smashes. Just get in there. I don't know.
I will say it had a very cool premise. I like the premise. Getting a little too supernatural with horror and then also police procedural is a little tricky, but I actually did like the overall theme of it.
Yeah, it was a good movie.
Same as why I like
That's
Love
all
Lies
beef.
Bleeding a lot. The overall theme of it was good, but then it gets weird.
Sonic 3 was fine.
Yeah,
You know,
I'm gonna
the-
wait. I was gonna wait on that until Chris saw
You know
it.
what's funny? The more that they go into the video game lore, the less I actually like the movies.
Did you like 3 less than the other ones?
A little bit, yeah. And
It's-
I hear most people liked it more, and I was like, I kind of
My-
liked it. I thought it was funnier when it was just a weird
See, that's it.
side universe Sonic
That's actually
project.
what I told Chris, I'm like, the movie is less funny, but has a much more thorough plot line. I think it's a better movie. I don't know if I enjoyed it as much as the other ones, but it's a good movie.
That sums it up for me exactly.
It's just
That's
less
a great
funny, and I was
summary.
like, man, I really did like the funny. The main funny comes from Jim Carrey just starting to be 1997 Jim Carrey
Yeah.
in that movie,
What were we
which
gonna,
we could use at times.
yeah.
honestly.
What were you gonna say, Dave?
Just I think that's a spot on method of it, because you're right. Jim Carrey basically owned the stage because he got to play 2 parts, and he got to act with himself and be manic and crazy and basically try to destroy the world. And it's like, all right, well, I mean, what more do you want? But you're right, like the darkness themes of Shadow and Sonic fighting each other. I mean, Keanu Reeves' voice of having that voice of like, I'm so dark and my love was taken away, and it's just
Again, we can get into this longer in the future with Sonic, but I watched 1 and 2 before I went to 3 because they're easy to watch. There's so many Keanu references in the first 2 movies and the Knuckles show. I did not realize how meta it was that they cast Keanu.
I had that thought because we watched at least one of them when we were in LA at the very start of the year, right?
Yeah, we did.
And
If
I
not
remember
both,
I-
actually.
I
Yeah.
think we might have watched both, and I remember him coming up at least multiple times. I don't know if I caught all of them, but I was like, "Huh? Did they always know, or is that just like a happy coincidence?"
I mean, literally 8 minutes into the very first Sonic movie is Sonic rolls up to the window and is hoping they're going to watch Speed that night. And then we get the pop quiz hot shot from Ben Schwartz's voice. So when I rewatched it, I was like, you motherfuckers, did you do this on purpose? Or did Keanu, because I think he has a pretty good sense of humor about himself, was like, sure, you've just praised me over and over again in your 2 movies. Because also, I think there's a reference to him. He's on the wall of Wade's room in the Knuckles show. There's a poster of how cool he was back then. And I'm like, you guys just keep talking about how cool Keanu is in these 2 movies and TV show. How the fuck could he say no?
Yeah.
So
There's nothing in 3 that was like the Russian dance-off in 2.
No.
Where it's just unhinged and weird. And
well,
I
there's
kinda-
one. There's one scene.
there was both Robotniks dancing
I
into
was
the
gonna say,
big egg
don't worry about
machine.
spoilers. I've seen the laser light dance 400,000
Yeah, I
fucking
mean-
times on Twitter by now.
So it is a wild dance, but that one's related to like the as a writer of a show, I could see how you get to Jim Carrey laser dancing through a high security area.
The tangent.
I don't know
The
how you got to Russia dancing off. Like,
No,
this is just wild.
Because in the first one, we have the bar fight where
Yes.
he slows down time.
Yes.
And then we have him and Tails. Like, you're right. We did not have the isolated, they're on their own. This could be a standalone 8-minute bit of like, what are Sonic and Knuckles or Sonic
Yeah.
Knuckles and Tails doing today? We did not have that.
And
You are
some
absolutely
people-
right, and we were missing it.
Some people might like that we didn't. I missed it personally.
I missed it too, and again, that's why like the thorough plot line is like, oh shit, this is pretty good. Because I think I told Chris it's Sonic Adventures 2, I believe.
yeah, it is. It's just
And I'm like, fuck, man, this is a pretty good. There's some liberties here and there, but I'm like, this is a pretty good adaptation of this
Yeah.
idea of a game from a Sonic game.
And What a fun idea to actually make Shadow have like the namesake matter in the sense that like it's almost like what Sonic could do with different choices.
Yeah,
If he had faced different adversity or gone down a different path, this is what he could be. And the games never have really done that. Even though the name sort of implies it from the start, Shadow was almost so edgy in his introduction that they had to keep him that way. And instead, this one's more like a down-to-earth version, which I'm looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, it's good.
So the only other thing I wanted to shout out, because it's like, one of my favorite movies of all time, and this is going back
Sonic
all the way
2?
to February. No, it's a different movie. I'm transitioning off to a new movie. I love Mean Girls. I have loved Mean Girls since it came out when I was 14 years old. I adore that movie so very much. I really loved the musical version of it that they made.
I heard it was good.
Paramount.
I heard it was shockingly good.
It is shockingly fucking good. And I've rewatched it again, and I'm still like, there's a couple nitpicks I have here and there, but the way it has made me desperately want to go watch the musical.
Yeah.
Because the movie is a pretty close adaptation to what the musical is doing.
Well, what's interesting, though, why I think Wicked is so important is it was a movie that kind of showed that musicals are still viable.
Yeah.
Because Mean Girls came out, and most people I talked to were like, wait, that was a musical?
Yes.
Because they did not advertise it as a musical because they're trying to hide the fact that it was a musical. So having a movie come out that is just full on, it's going to be a musical, that was good. And to see it do well, I think is important.
And two of the absolute like laugh out loud funniest moments of Mean Girls, the musical movie of it, are songs. There was like so much more humor in those bits, the Halloween party, and then when they're going through the hallways talking about revenge. And it's like that shit is fucking hilarious. They also just nail the casting on like I would say 80% of these people.
Yeah.
The weakest part is literally the main character. She's not very good. She doesn't sing a whole lot. And then Aaron Samuel sucks, but they failed to cast him the first time too, so it's fine. He's a guy. It doesn't matter. It's a movie about a bunch of girls.
Mean Girls.
It's
not
really
mean
the guy casting. The guy casting is so irrelevant. They literally got rid of Caddy's dad. He does not exist in the fucking musical or the movie. So I just want to throw that out there. That there's stuff that's like if you think you're gonna like it, it's worth trying. Because I tried that a couple times. Another movie was Blink Twice, the movie with Channing Tatum. I like Channing Tatum. It was kind of a weird horror movie. I was like, sure, I'll try this, and I came away being like, not amazing, but entertaining. So that's the thing I told myself is like, I really want to go watch movies of people I like.
Yeah.
Even if the movie doesn't really appeal to me, I need to go watch the stuff that people that I am entertained by are in. Which is probably why I should go watch fucking Wicked and just blow off the Raya's going to make me watch the musical first, because I really like Ariana Grande. And I will enjoy the movie just because I'm going to get an hour and a half of her on the screen.
Yeah, exactly. It was a great year for horror too. Dave, do you have any
really
final words for
Good
the
point.
movies of 2024?
What's that?
Any final words?
It's amazing how varied media and entertainment can be overall. I mean, the span of what we've covered, and we haven't even hit the biggest one. We talk about video games. I mean, from going from what people like as far as, the fact of what you can find connection with, I think is the most amazing thing, where we've talked about things going from college football players to a guy who makes $700 million over the next 10 years playing baseball to electing a pope in a movie about it. Like, that's what a wide breadth of things that you can be entertained by. And that's why I think it's so interesting and fun to talk about.
I like it. I actually, that was a great summary.
Yeah. He's right.
Just hire you to do like the pre-Chris outro. We'll call it Dave's final word.
Peter, it's coming. Don't worry.
Will it be anybody's game of the year? It won't be Sean's.
No, because it's not, but it's really good.
Anything you're looking forward to so far? I have one very thing that I'm very much looking forward to.
Well, I am, but I think we have to.
We're doing that later?
Now we actually are. I think
fine.
at time for realsies, but we will talk about 2025 preview at some point.
Okay, good.
Well, last year we did do one of those. We may have to wait a little bit this year just because there's other stuff to get to.
Probably.
Or maybe we have to figure out a way not to do the stock episodes in December or something, but that's a good time to do it because of the holidays, so I don't know.
Oh,
One of the movies I was looking forward to on that 2024 show still hasn't fucking come out, so I'll still be looking forward to it on the 2025
And
show.
we'll have Zachary Levi's Autistic Child movie coming out this year, so it's going to be a great year.
I can't wait. Did he get it because he got a vaccine?
I don't know, but the movie mysteriously disappeared for like 3 years and then just came back out of nowhere,
Awesome.
so...
Can't wait.
I'm sure
2025. It's appropriate now.
Love the guy.
Sure.
All right.
All right, that's the end of this episode. Welcome back to the live format. Welcome to 2025. In between shows, you can find us at our website at grayareas.live, liveareas.grave, whatever.
I like it.
Or youtube.com/@grayareaslive. I haven't done an outro in 5 weeks, and it shows. We'll see you next week for part 2 of the best of 2024.